radical change and establish order. So if you overthrow the government, wouldn't you say that's an extreme change in a society? So like, yeah, so you kick the established order of government out of the White House and the people take over. Would that be an overthrow of the government? And that would be a radical change, right? That would throw the world into freaking chaos. All right, so that's an example of a revolution. Release. Bless you. This is crazy. So, make sure you know what a revolution is. So, we're getting into the American Revolution. We're going to look at the causes in this. But first, we got to look at the characteristics that start a revolution. I actually have gum today.
Are you a slice?
What type is this?
Extra flavor mint. You got to turn in your basic knowledge.
So do I, don't worry.
All right. Bless you, Michelle. All right, we're ready to go. Yeah, pass those around. All right. So, characteristics of a revolution. All right. First thing, mass frustration. So, when you're frustrated, how do you feel? Angry. You're angry. All right, you're angry. You're frustrated. So, mass frustration and a revolution. One way for a revolution to actually happen and get started is there has to be a mass frustration. So, what a mass frustration is, majority of the population is discontent. All right, they're not happy with institutions and the order. All right. So look at this. The American Revolution, they were mad at the taxes. We'll talk about that. It caused people to get in an uproar and want to start a revolution. What's a modern day sense of a mass frustration that we have today in current day society?
Like BLM.
All right, BLM, so racism. All right, that started a whole movement, started a whole protest. So people were massively frustrated. All right, what's another thing? The George Floyd case. All right, you had the relationship between the police, the government, and people. All right, protections. So once George Floyd got killed in that whole incident, people were massively frustrated. And what did they do? They protested. So would you say that protest, it was pretty massive, it was all over the country. It could have led to a revolution, essentially, right? All those people banded together, and they were massively frustrated, so they went out and they did something about it. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
All right, next thing, conflicting elites. So what do you think I mean by conflicting elites? Yes, arguing, conflict between important people. So, people with power and wealth challenge leadership. So if you can see that, sorry I didn't. So, people with power and wealth challenge leadership. So, if you're educated, you have power, you have money in the society, you're a higher up person. All right, they're in charge. There's another group that's not in charge, but they have power, wealth, education, anything that makes them powerful as well. So, the people that are in order are conflicting with another group that has power as well. So, modern day sense, let's look at politics. Who's going against who?
Democrats and Republicans. Democrats and Republicans.
Democrats and Republicans. So if you look at a Democrat, somebody in the government, do they have power? Do they have wealth? Do they have education? All right, boom. There you go. They're in leadership. Republicans, do they have power? Do they have wealth? They have education, and they have leadership. So in today's society, when you say politics, kind of they're conflicting elites going against each other. When you say that, Republicans and Democrats, 100%. So this whole issue of the government and politics and these conflicting elites is causing and giving us characteristics of a revolution, right? The last election was absolutely crazy, right? All right, it's due to these conflicting elites. Oh, they said this, they said this, they said this, they said this, and people get crazy about that, and they show characteristics of a revolution. All right, the insurrection. That's a good example of conflicting elites. The Republicans, they lost, so they didn't get leadership, so they had a big issue with that. Does that make sense? Conflicting elites. All right, so third characteristic. Shared motivation. What do I mean by shared motivation? Alright, so you're motivated in a positive way or a negative way, however, but so if you're motivated, you're going to get up off the couch and be like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do something about it, right? So, if the majority of the population, people, alright, are sharing a motivation, they can get a lot done, right? So, the power is in the people. So say, Crew and Riley, they hate me as a teacher. And they're like, man, I hate the way Mr. Brewer does things. I don't like the way he does this, this, this. All right, he did this the other day and we totally don't agree with it. We probably have 20 people in this class, correct? So if those two are the ones that have a shared motivation, they want to start a revolution, and nobody else in the class agrees, are they probably going to get what they want done?
No.
No. But what happens if all of you join in? You probably have a pretty good chance to get rid of me, right? Yeah, so you're going to kick my butt. So you have a pretty good chance. The power is in numbers. All right, so shared motivation. What's a shared motivation in our country today?
Bless you.
Freedom. All right, freedom. Shared motivation of freedom. So, if this shared motivation, if our freedoms aren't being met, people are going to get together and say, fight for freedom. All right, we're going to fight for freedom. Bless you. They all get together. Oh my gosh. They all get together on a shared motivation and they get something done. Does that make sense? Freedom would be a shared motivation. Is everybody good on that?
Yeah.
Last thing. State crisis. So if you're in a crisis, all right, if your state is in a crisis, what do you think a state crisis means? If you're in a crisis, things aren't going too good, right?
Like how Florida, like how they flooded.
Yes. So Florida is in a crisis right now with the hurricanes. What? Yes. What do they lack right now? What are they lacking?
Material.
All right. Material. So their needs. What are they lacking right now? What are the people lacking?
A place.
Dry land.
All right, a place to stay, dry land. What else do you need to survive? Food, water.
I mean, they're not
They got water.
They can drink that.
They just
All
sold.
right, so they're in a crisis right now. So that's an example of a crisis. So a state crisis and the characteristics of a revolution. Failure to meet the needs of people. So if you're in a society where your government is not giving your people food, all right, water, things for you to live, shelter, protection, all those different things. If you're hungry, what's the Snickers commercial say?
Eat the Snickers, man.
All right, so you're not you when you're hungry, right? So people do crazy things when they're hungry, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So you're failing to meet the needs of people.
When I'm hungry, I just
So when you fail to meet the needs of people, the people get together with their pitchforks and they're like, hey, we need to go against so-and-so because we're not eating, we're not being protected, we need to go against all of this. All right, so does this make sense? State crisis. Failure to meet the needs of people, food, water, whatever. Bolshevik Revolution, the reason why communism came in is because the Russian monarch Tsar Nicholas, he wasn't taking care of the people. He wasn't meeting the needs of people. There was a mass famine. All right, a lot of people died from World War I. So what they did, Vladimir Lenin came in. He came with the thing of communism. All right, he came with communism. He said, hey, I'll hook all of you up and I'll take care of you. So all those people got together because their needs weren't being met and communism came into power. They started a revolution, killed Tsar Nicholas, boom. Does that make sense? All right, so keep these papers, make sure you have all these notes down and you understand this. That's all the notes for today. The paper, bless you. Oh my gosh.
don't blame me. Blame my father.
So, everybody, look at this paper. Mendy, wake up. So, modern day current events that display characteristics of a revolution. So, I want you to give, all right, I want you to answer these questions under each one. So, conflicting elites, mass frustration, shared motivation, state crisis. So, the questions that I want you to answer under each one, you can put this on your own sheet of paper too if you want.
Can I write it on this one though? if I want to?
Provide a modern day example. So I want you to provide a modern day example for conflicting elites, mass frustration, shared motivation, and state crisis. They all have to be different. Everybody good on that? 4 different modern day examples for each one. all right, in America or somewhere else in the world. How does this affect society positively or negatively? This whole incident, all right, how does it affect society positively? How does it affect it negatively? All right, they're characteristic of a revolution. Third question, do you believe this incident to be a good thing? Do you think this certain shared motivation state crisis and people doing something about it is actually a good thing?
My heating.
All right, that's your personal opinion. Yes, no. Explain why you feel that way. Last thing, what do you believe this incident will lead to, possibly lead to? So you'll answer that for each modern day example under conflicting elites, mass frustration, shared motivation, state crisis. All right, give me 4 different modern day examples. Does anybody have any questions on this?
No, sir.
Any questions?
Nope.
All right, good. So, hey, what we're going to do, we're going to come back in here and we'll work on this. If you hadn't finished your basic knowledge, you can work on that too. So we're going to work on this. Once we get finished, if we get finished today, we'll compare everything and give modern day examples. You'll give your examples and we'll all have a conversation about it. Cool?
Cool.
All righty, so go ahead and get ready. We're going to go ahead and head out and move it. Good job.